Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast, and we are a man down. We can't disclose the reasons, it's all very top secret. Hush, hush, you know, you got to be in the know to be in the know. But, worry not, fret not. I think we can just about manage. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And the big one there, share the podcast around. If you've got a football fan in your life, send them this podcast. They might just thank you for it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Well, she doesn't lie, ladies and gentlemen. The lady does not lie. Welcome on in. Recording is indeed in progress. And you join us with 1, 2, 3 people at the desk. Something must have gone drastically wrong here. No. Mr. McLeod is just unavailable to join us this week, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. So what that does mean is that the football podcast this week is coming to you from the CookieCast Podcast Network with myself, the leader, Mr. Andrew Cook, and Hull City's finest, Stuart Woodmansey. How are we doing this week, gents?
Hello. All good? Well,
all
so
good.
Indeed.
Good. Well,
Some good.
the last game of the week to go through from a Week 19 perspective could flavour the podcast somewhat, but we'll dive into that when we get to it. Our first game of the week from Week 19 saw Wolverhampton Wanderers taking on Nottingham Forest. Now, obviously, this is the part of the podcast where Mr. Mo would dive in and tell us just how bad Forest were in this draw. However, as you can see, he isn't here. So I'll jump in. It was a 1-1 draw with Wolves and Nottingham Forest. Forest actually took the lead in this game. Harry Toffolo popping up with an unusual for him goal. I don't think they made it into the second half with the lead, however. Let me just double check. No, 32 minutes, Matheus Cunha got the equaliser for Wolves. From what I can remember of the highlights, not many more chances in the game. It kind of petered out after that point. They never used to. They weren't really going back to whoever it was that was covering the game on Soccer Saturday on Sky too much in the second half. So the game petered out to a 1-1 draw. Predictions wise, no one really got any points for this one, as 3 of us had wins for Wolves, and Andy had a win for Forest. Matt, however, did get himself a bonus point as he did pick Cunha to score for Wolves. So after the first game of the week, just Matt scoring a point there. The rest of us all on 0. Our second game of the week took us to the Riverside, where Middlesbrough playing Ipswich Town, second in the league, Ipswich Town no less. And by all accounts, they started the game pretty well. I think they were on top. They were pushing for the opening goal. And then sort of got hit on the counter attack as it seemed. The ball had been played in from the right hand side. It kind of clattered into Johnny Howson in the box and just rebounded into the path of Connor Chaplin, who just smashed it past Seni Dieng to open the goal scoring. So that was in the 36th minute. And they went into the half time with that one goal advantage, and they capitalised on it in the second half when the ball was peeing around the Ipswich box, and just one straight through ball was played from just outside the area into the centre circle for the guy who flicked it just round the corner for Amari Hutchinson to latch onto. And just stick it underneath the goalkeeper for 2-0. And that's kind of how it panned out for the Borough. No real chances. Could have opened the scoring, but weren't able to capitalise. Obviously, then went 1-0 down, went 2-0 down, couldn't get themselves back into the game, sadly. 2-0 loss. Second defeat in a row for Middlesbrough in this particular run of fixtures. Predictions-wise, Andy had gone for a 2-0, but to the Borough, so no points there. Matt had gone for a 2-2 draw and had picked Chaplin to score, so gets himself a bonus point for the goal scorer. Myself and Mr. Woodmansey had very sensibly picked an Ipswich win. Stuart had gone 1-0 with Broadhead to score. I'd gone 2-1 with Chaplin and Luongo, who I wasn't aware was actually not available for this game as he was suspended. So had I have known that, I may have picked someone else. Probably not on Mary Hutchinson, though. So, I bagged myself 2 points for that game. Stu, 1 point. Matt, another point. Andy still yet to get off the mark, sadly. Our third game of the week took us to Loftus Road, where Queen's Park Rangers took on Hull City. How did this one pan out for your boys, Mr. Woodmansey?
Quite simply, QPR made it 3 wins in a row, but remained in the bottom 3. So I would have that down as a bad result for Hull, personally. The game finished 2-0 to QPR. Willock scored in added time at the end of the first half. Was an absolute belter, though. There's nothing that the keeper could have done about that one, particularly. Chair scored on 73 minutes in the second half, and the keeper could have done a lot more about that one. It was entirely Allsop's fault. It just gave the ball away under pressure, and yet again, as I've been talking about for the last few weeks, it's another game where Hull have had the most possession and shots on target, but nothing to show for it. It was just more of the same, effectively. Just not one good bit, really. Can't really say anything about that game where, like, anyone's going to remember it by the end of the season. So, probably not even from a QPR point of view. Just the fact that they got a few points and they move on. It was not a spectacle by any stretch.
Not good. Obviously, 3 games in and only a point to show for it for our collective boys. Predictions-wise, Andy and myself and Mr. Moore were all optimistic on this one, and we'd gone for Hull wins. So, not very good. No points for us, apart from the fact that I did have Elias Chair to score. So I do get myself a bonus point for the goal scorer. Stuart had gone for a 1-1 draw with Chair to score for Queen's Park Rangers, so also bags himself a bonus point. So that's myself on 3, Stu on 2, Matt on 2, and Andy still yet to score for the week. Our fourth game saw Mr. Cook's adopted team of Wigan Athletic taking on Lincoln City. And there wasn't much to say about this one, as it was 0-0. I didn't even see highlights, as, again, it was 0-0. I'll have a look.
I didn't even see highlights because there were none, was there?
Well, I mean, I can only presume that is the case. Let's have a look at the stats. How many shots on target did we have in the game? 1. Literally across both teams. So Wigan had 3 shots in the entire game. Hang on. Wigan had 3 shots in the game. 2 were off target. So 1 just disappeared into the ether. Make of that what you will. Lincoln managed to get 9 total shots, 1 of which was on target, and 2 were off target. So apparently 6 of their shots have just disappeared as well. Not quite sure how to process that particular information. But yeah, it doesn't sound like it was a barn burner of a game, let's put it that way. Predictions-wise, none of us get any points for goal scorers, obviously there's no goals. I'd gone for a 1-0 Wigan win. And Andy, Stu had gone for a 2-1 Lincoln win, whereas Matt had gone for a 2-2 draw. So Matt does get himself a bonus point for the draw there, moving himself on to 3 points so far for the week. Stu stays on 2, I stay on 3. Andy still yet to get off the mark. Our fifth and final game, though, ladies and gentlemen, is the game we were all waiting for. It's the first of our meeting of the minds, as it were, in the podcast realm. It was Middlesbrough versus Hull City, and not to date the podcast in any way, shape or form, but it may have only just finished within the last 15 minutes or so. Shall I do the first half and you do the second half?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy just to chat through it between us if you want, because your descriptions are always much more detailed than mine, and plus there'll be points in both halves where we both want to complain about a lot of things, I should imagine.
Yeah, well, the opening to the game was quite usual for Borough. They were straight onto the front foot, tried to sort of pin Hull back with their pass and move, and it worked quite well. And within 5 minutes, they had the opening goal of the game. I believe it was Lucas Engel down the left-hand side who crossed the ball in. Did it go back to Green? No, it went across the box to Jones, who tried to lay it into Lattelat's pass, but completely misplayed the ball. It still ended up at Lattelat's feet, and he was the quickest of him and the defenders to work his feet out and just slide it straight into the goal, through the legs of the goalkeeper, no less. And at that point, I would say it was a deserved opener. They were comfortably the better side in the opening 5 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, not going to make too many excuses for our centre half, but you know, the poor lad has got a week-old baby at home, so he's probably had very little sleep this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, we'll get into this a bit more as it goes, but I didn't care for any of the commentary team tonight on Sky. They were absolutely useless. And 2 minutes into the game, they come out with, well, Middlesbrough have had all the possession in this game so far. It's 2 minutes in, you absolute bellend. Like, what? Like, no, bring your possession stats out after half an hour. After 20 minutes, even if you want. 2 minutes in, anybody with eyes could see that Hull did not start that game well. Even if you watch the entire first half, you could see that Hull did not start that game well. But
so that to me is the equivalent of like Match of the Day showing up the league table on the first game of the season.
Exactly. But yeah, there was other instances, but we'll come to them as we go. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the smoke start to appear out of my ears as we get to those points.
So 5 minutes in, 1-0 to the Borough. One should really have been 2, as Isaiah Jones was put clean through. He did have a defender tracking him, but somehow managed to forget which part of his foot is used to strike the ball, as he was clean through on the right hand side of the box, and somehow managed to just chip it wide, as if he was what's the golfing term? He was looking for a full force with the wedge. And he somehow managed to completely open the face, shall we say, and for one of the better phrases, spanned it wide. I can't really remember too many more chances in the first half, if I'm being honest. It kind of just, it was a very, well, let's call a spade. It was a poor game. A lot of misplaced passes on both sides. I lost count of the amount of times that both teams got into the final third and just passed it straight to the opposition team.
The one thing that I will say for Borough is that sort of quite a lot of the misplaced passes from Hull ended up being in Hull's own defensive half, because Borough were pressing. There's no two ways about it. We sat very deep in that first half, and it was almost as if the misplaced passes they were expecting somebody to make a run. And rather than seeing if that actually materialised, just passed it into open space anyway, and ended up giving the ball away quite a lot. But yeah, there wasn't much going on for Hull. We were getting done down that Hull's right hand side quite a lot, first half, and changes definitely needed to be made. But I can't remember, was it half time that the changes came, or was it just after?
No, the game went into the second half. So obviously the first half finished with Borough leading 1-0, and we went into the second half with no changes on both sides. But it was on the 60. Technically, it says 60 and 61, but it was technically, I suppose, 61 by the time the watch ticked over. But Hull made a triple substitution. Ruben Banega came on for Cyrus Christie. Adama Traore came on for Jean-Michel Seri. And Ozan Tufan came on for Scott Twine. And that's kind of when Hull... I'm not just saying this because of how the game petered out, but I wouldn't even say they got a foothold in the game. It wasn't as if they were pushing Borough back or pressing them or anything. They weren't. It didn't seem to affect Borough's game plan. Borough was still on the front foot and keeping Hull pressed back in their own half, and they were doing most of the attacking. Hull ended up with, was it a corner?
Yeah. So it was a corner from Hull's right hand side, swung into the near post, and Greaves looked to flick it. I definitely think he was going for that. As it happened, he flicked it towards the back post, where probably 3 Middlesbrough defenders had just decided to absolutely go nowhere near the back post, leaving Delap in space to smash it in with his head from about 2 yards out.
Yeah, if you watch the footage back, Dan Barlaser is the guy who's tracking Delap on his run from the edge of the box. It just completely switches off. Yeah, he tracks him to about the penalty spot or the edge of the 6-yard box, and then just completely switches off and just tracks the ball. So a classic example of someone who's caught ball watching. The lap stays switched on, peels off to the back stick, and is completely unmarked, like Stu said, so just nodding from 2 yards out.
I feel like there was a bit of not dissension to the point where they were arguing, but there was a bit of confusion amongst Borough's backline, I think, at that point, because the 3 that were kind of stood in the middle of the 6-yard box, Barlaser included at that point, were just kind of stood looking at each other as if to say, he was yours, no, he was yours, and like it was too late then, it had already gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Classic, oh, yeah, you were supposed to pick him up, no, you were supposed to pick him up. It don't matter, lads, we can concede it now. Let's just forget about it and just get back on it, keep pushing them back, and let's go for the second. And yeah, a bit of an equaliser, just completely out of the blue, really. I would even say at that point, I think if you'd have offered him at the time, Hull would have snapped your hand off for the point there and then, because the changes that Rossini was making seemed to me like they were shutting up shop and just going for sticking with the point that they'd come for.
Absolutely, because when he brings Doherty on as a defensive player, and then who did he take off to bring McLaughlin on? He brought off an attacking player.
He took the lap off.
Yeah, effectively, bringing on an extra defender. He absolutely was trying to hang on, not even settle. By the way that game had gone, it was not electric at either end, but if any team had attacked, it was Borough. So to me, it was hanging on for the point. And then, really, again, it was just another lapse in concentration that let Hull in. It was, obviously, Hull had to attack and move the ball forward, but they dropped the stat that it was the first time in 8 games that Tufan had scored. He is not a prolific goal scorer for a forward player at all. He's usually 2 or 3 yards behind the pace, and I think I even mentioned it. I've mentioned it before. His usual shtick is get subbed on, get a yellow card, have a little paddy about it, don't really play anymore. And I was fully expecting that, because he came on and he was niggling because he was behind the play again. But being behind the play helped a little bit for the goal, because Barlaser very nicely took all the pace off a ball headed into across his own goal and dropped it nicely into the path of the late arriving Tufan, who took it into the bottom left-hand corner. In fairness, it wasn't a bad finish. The keeper couldn't reach it from where he put it.
Well, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. He didn't play it into Tufan's path, did he? He sort of killed it into the path of someone else who laid it back for Tufan to sort of walk onto to pass in. And I can't think who it was.
Might have been Trail maybe at that point.
Who was down as getting the assist? Slater.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, not Slater. Dockett. It is. Dockett is down as getting the assist on 82.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like you say, Barley's, it couldn't have been a simpler ball. All he needed to do was just sort his feet out, take it into his path, either play it off or literally just start the attack again, which he'd been doing all night. To be fair, he was one of the two that was playing in the midfield. He was just picking the ball and driving through the midfield in and out. But
should add in at this point actually that and as well this is for you as well, Mr. Cook, and I will watch your face whilst I deliver this news just to see what you might have noted down for the week ahead. In the QPR game, I should have mentioned that a very innocuous block tackle has now put Jaden Philogene on the sidelines for 6 weeks. So therefore he missed the Borough game tonight. I was worried, to say the least, without him. You could see the amount of times that when the ball got to kind of like the centre circle, they were looking for that outlet and it wasn't there. There was quite a few times where the ball had gone down the right-hand side, City's right-hand side particularly, and they were looking to where they would normally look to switch it, and there was just nothing. So they ended up passing it straight back to Borough or like running into trouble. So it'll be interesting to see how we manage without him for that amount of time. I mean, hopefully he'll be back sooner, but knee ligaments are very a very, very bizarre injury. I suppose it depends how bad it is. It could be a fortnight, it could be a season ender, but the time scale they've given is 6 weeks on this one, so we'll see how that plays out.
I don't know if it was a straight swap, but obviously Aaron Connolly got the start tonight.
That's not a fair trade.
And I'll say that he put in his usual Riverside Stadium performance, to be fair, as he was god awful. Touch completely missing. He took a couple of chances early doors with like shots and things like that, when the ball was coming straight into him rather than taking a touch and trying to sort of play it on. And every time something didn't come off for him, the Borough crowd were, really supportive in, trying to G him up so that he played. Oh no, sorry, they were straight on him every chance they had to remind him of how shit a player he was when he was at the Borough. So that was nice.
In the first half, when Borough had gone 1-0 up, Hull had a chance 3 or 4 minutes later where the ball broke to him just on the edge of the penalty area, and he had the full goal to aim at. Granted, he's a little man, so he's, the edge of the penalty area might seem like miles away for him. But, just fed it straight down the keeper's throat. In fact, actually, I think he even curled it into his hand, so he actually helped the keeper out by putting it even nearer. And it never really got better for him from that point onwards. There was, I think, his other highlight of the game was when Hull won a free kick in midfield and one of the Borough players wouldn't move out of the way within the 2 seconds that the foul had just been committed. So he thought he was clever by kicking it into the Borough player to try and just be a bit of a shit. And again, no yellow card was produced because the Borough player had literally got up off the ground and started to very slowly walk away. He hadn't had a chance to move away from the area. And the referee, I think, I remember catching it, actually laughed at him for doing it. So, idiot. Yeah, not his finest hour tonight.
So Hull took the lead with 82 minutes gone, and for the last 10-15 minutes that was left, it was basically just a case of Borough just chasing to try and get back into the game. A ball down the right-hand side for Matt Crooks to latch onto. He had a chance to lob the keeper as Allsop was off his line, and he basically just dollied it straight back to him. It was worse than a back pass. Crooks was very, very poor. for Borough tonight. A lot of the players were way off the pace. And then right at the end, Borough got a corner with about literally 10 seconds to go, so the keeper came up. Obviously, this is the same keeper that last season QPR scored in the last minute with a corner, from a corner with a header. So he has got previous for scoring late goals. He did get his head on it, but nothing came from it in as much as the ball was like, it kind of went to a Hull player who cleared it out, worked its way back out to the Borough lads who took a shot, also got down to save, then scrambled up to save the rebound, and then saved the third effort that was on target. So a triple save from Ryan Alsop ended the game as the ref blew for full time as that was occurring, and Hull get the 2-1 win. First win on Teesside since 2 seasons ago when Keane Lewis Potter scored the winner. But other than that, that's the first time they'd won there in 22 games, wasn't it, or something like that? Oh no, wait, they had played them in the FA Cup, which was not brought up in the.
Again, Sky with their useless commentary team and terrible statistics. This is the Hull haven't won in 24 meetings on Teesside, apart from the Keane Lewis Potter one. No, that is incorrect. And both myself and Mr. Williams were in attendance the day it happened. As I believe it was the FA Cup run when Hull got to the final that year. So, you know.
It was. And that was the third round, no less. That was the very beginning of the Cup run.
Yeah.
So all in all, not a great night for my lot, but a very good night for Mr. Woodmansey's lot. So congratulations, sir, on the win.
I mean, you say a very good night if you actually watch if you've managed to listen to this podcast without watching that game and are happy that Hull have won, you're the real winner here, because that was 90 minutes plus injury time that we were never getting back.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. Let's be honest. So predictions wise, no one had a Hull City win. Stu had a 1-0 Borough win with Latte Laugh to score, so gets himself a point for the goal scorer.
I was all right after 6 minutes.
Yeah, it was looking pretty good. Matt had gone for a 1-1 with Bangora to score for Borough and Delap to score for Hull. Andy had also gone for a 1-1 with Latte Laugh to score for the Borough and Delap to score for Hull. So until Tufan bundled in the winner, Andy was on for lots and lots of points. I had gone for a 2-2 draw. Crooks and Jones, who both really should have scored, let's be honest. Morton and Delap to score for Hull. So everyone got at least a point in this one. I got one, Stu got one, Matt got one, and Andy finally, after 5 games, gets himself off the mat with 2 points. So for the week, Andy had 2 points, Stu had 3 points, myself and Mr. Moore both had 4 points apiece. So, game week 19, done and dusted. Game week 20 on the horizon. Unfortunately, Mr. Moore has not provided me with his predictions for this week. So sadly, there'll be no Mr. Moore predictions to go through. So, just the 3 of us doing it. And the first game is Mr. Moore's team of Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham Hotspur. I'll jump in first. I've gone for a 1-3 on this one. I think Forest are potentially on for a bit of a hide here. I've gone for Origi to score for Forest, and then a goal each for Son, Richarlison and Kulishevsky. Stu, what have you got for Spurs versus Forest?
I mean, you might have already got the score in the book when I pulled a face when you said 1-3, because I also have Forest 1, Spurs 3. But the goal scorers are different. I've gone for Elanga for Forest.
Yeah.
I've got 2 for Son. And of course, making his return to the City ground, Johnson.
I had forgotten about old Dickie. Andrew?
I've gone the other way. 2-0 to Forest.
Goal scorers?
Wood and Elanga.
I imagine if it's 1-1 and it's Wood and Johnson, that'll be perfect.
The penile double. Our second game of the week sees Hull City, fresh off mauling the Borough, taking on Cardiff City. Obviously, it's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will go last. I've just gone for a straight-up 1-0 win here with Twine to score the goal. Andy?
Yeah, very, very similar. 1-0 with the Dilapidator.
1-0 Delap. How do you see it panning out, Stu?
Well, first and foremost, the only thing that Hull will be mauling this evening is the post-match meal. The game, however, on Saturday, I've got down as a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I've gone for Grant for Cardiff, and I've gone for Morton for Hull.
Tyler Morton and his tiny wee socks. Our third game of the week sees another similar theme of Swansea City. So it's Welsh rare bit across the board this week for our boys. Not Matt, but that's not the point. He's not here. He doesn't count. Swansea City versus Middlesbrough. My team, I will go last. So let's go to Andy for his prediction first.
2 goals for the Borough.
0-2.
0-2.
0-2. Your 2 goal scorers?
Latte Laugh and Rogers.
Rogers did come on this evening and looked as shit as always. Stu?
I have gone for a Desmond. So I've got Swansea 2, Middlesbrough 2. I've got Bolasie and Grimes for Swansea. And
Bolasie or
Bolasie?
Bolasie?
Yeah. Bolasie. Bolasie.
Yeah.
And I've got hoping to put his issues from this evening behind him. Mark Crooks, as Sky labelled him this evening, and Greenwood.
Ah, yes. 2 of the players who played within themselves, shall we say, this evening. Sorry, who was your second goal scorer for Swansea? Bolasie and
Grimes.
I have completely missed the fact that Bolasie is even on the Swans team, and of course, counts as the old boy rule. I have got Middlesbrough 2-1 to win here. I don't want that as my prediction anymore because they were terrible, but I'm going to stick with it. I've gone for Patterson to score for Swansea, Latte Laugh and Silvera to score for the Borough. I dare say there'll be a few changes after tonight's game.
Do you reckon Silvera probably have a better chance of starting, I would have thought, at the weekend?
I mean, yes, but given the fact that he fluffed 2 pretty decent chances when he came on tonight, maybe not.
Yeah.
Two games remaining. We've obviously got Mr. Cook's boys to go through, and then we've got a cup game to round out the week. We will just step away just momentarily to take a quick break and recharge our batteries, though. Don't you do anything. We'll be right back for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Recording in progress.
See, just like that. Done and dusted. So, last 2 games to go through for week 20. The first of which is Port Vale taking on Andy's team, Wigan Athletic. Obviously, it's Andy's adopted team, therefore he will give his prediction last. I'll jump straight in here. I believe Mr. Cook may be changing teams this week, as I've gone for a 1-0 Port Vale win with Ojo to score the goal. Stu?
I've got 1-1. I've got Walters for Vale and Humphreys for Wigan.
Okay. How do you see your boys getting on in Stoke-on-Trent, Mr. Cook?
1-0, or 0-1, should I say.
Goal scorer?
Come on.
Here he goes.
For those of you who haven't been watching the podcast for the last, what feels like...
Forever.
6 to 8 weeks?
At least.
Mr. Cook is referring to stones.
Correct.
There. If my prediction of 1-0 to Port Vale does come to pass, technically, that would mean that Port Vale become Andrew's club. And Port Vale's next game just so happens to be in the League Cup against Middlesbrough. Now, obviously, this hasn't been included because it might be Mr. Cook's team. This has been included because it is my team. However, if Port Vale were to beat Wigan, Port Vale become Andy's team. Which then means if Middlesbrough were to beat Port Vale, Middlesbrough become Andy's team. So there's a little bit of podcast inception for you, somewhat.
Honestly, the possibility of this happening, I am so excited to get my scarves out. I'll be wearing them with pride.
Andy, you'll be all right though, because then at least when it comes time and Borough then lose at some point in the season going forward, at least you can leave them behind, whereas Paul is permanently stuck.
Yeah, it'll be awesome when Borough, if they do end up winning against Port Vale and then get to the semi-final and get drawn against Liverpool. Oh,
is that the point where we just stop doing the extra ticket?
Yeah, I think we just cut that particular rule off, like the diseased limb it will have become. So, as we said, the last game of the week is the League Cup quarter-final, which sees Port Vale take on my boys, Middlesbrough. Obviously, it's my team, therefore I will give the prediction last. Andy, what have you got for Port Vale versus the Borough?
0-3.
Goal scorers?
Latte Laugh, Silvera, and I just double check, is Fours still a viable option in the...
He's still classed as injured. However, there was some sort of news on the Middlesbrough Evening Gazette earlier in the day, where they said they had some form of positive news on injuries that were potentially in line to come back in. So let's have a look and see if there's any sort of news. Injuries. It's all looking. His name isn't coming up in any sort of thing saying returning soon. So I would shy away.
Okay, then put me one down for Rodgers as well, then.
Okay.
Just to be on the safe side.
So just to clarify, that was a 3-0 win with Latte Lap, Silvera and Rodgers to score.
Correct.
Stu?
What are the chances that he'll play a lot of youth team that I don't know?
I would say slim, given that it's a quarter-final. I think he'll put out a strong side, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's tempted to maybe play this young lad who scored quite a lot for the under-21s, called Callum Kavanagh, if he's looking to rest one of the strikers.
Also, can we run a side sweep on the fact that within the first 3 minutes of the game they'll mention it was the last cup that Middlesbrough won and etc. etc.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I thought it's happening.
I mean, you say that as if it's going to be on TV, even though there are 4 games at this round not on TV.
That's bizarre. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, in that case, then, if it's going to be a fairly strong side from the horse's mouth, as it were, I'll stick with my first team players. So I've gone for a 1-2 Borough win. I've got Garrity for Vale. I've gone for Rodgers. And just for absolute banter, Bar Laser.
Absolute banter, you say?
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been strange if I'd have gone, say, 3-1 with Coburn, Rodgers and Bar Laser to score for the Borough. Well, it's strange that, because that is what I've come for. And my one goal for Port Vale, he's back, ladies. Uche Ikpeatsu plays for Port Vale.
Oh, did not know that.
I would be very surprised if he doesn't start the game. Let's put it that way. And given how our season is going, I would be very surprised if he doesn't bag. Yes, obviously, if Middlesbrough are able to put paid to Port Vale, they will set up a two-legged semi-final against a guaranteed Premier League opposition, as the Port Vale and Middlesbrough were the two lowest ranked teams left in the competition. I can't think off the top of my head. I know that Newcastle played Chelsea. I think it's Everton, West Ham, and I can't think who Liverpool have got in the other semi-final, quarter-final. So we'll see. We will see. Obviously, Mr. Moore's predictions are lacking at this stage. However, if he gets them to me before the kick-off of Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham, I will add them to the book, of course, so he can still score points. Do you have any odds for us there, Mr. Woodmansey?
I do. Just to round that out for the fullness of the piece on the League Cup, it's Everton, Fulham, Port Vale, Middlesbrough, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Liverpool, West Ham. If that final game could end in a -1 each, where both teams just get in the sea, yes, please.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll agree that game ends as like a no contest, and whoever gets drawn against them just gets the bye to the final.
Yeah, that works for me.
Have that.
That works for me. So I'm obviously working just on Forest, Hull, and Borough. So the odds this week for all three teams to win, you can get yourself almost 16-1. For all three teams to lose, you can get yourselves just over 20-1. But for all three teams to draw, and again, the draws are obviously always going to be that bit higher, it's roughly 44-1. So if all three teams do manage a draw, without being horrible to Matt, I think Forest are probably the least likely of the three to draw. But stranger things have happened. They tend to play better against teams that are doing well, and Tottenham are having a bit of a season so far, so you never know. But yeah, it's if I'm not here next week, it's because I've gone and spent my £44 on copious amounts of 2 cans of craft beer.
Obviously, he won't be doing that with them because for the price that they cost, no one's wasting craft beer. Yes, that brings us to the end of the predictions portion of the podcast, and then obviously we open it up to, does anyone have anything else to bring? But something that's been flying its way around our group chat after it occurred a couple of days ago was an absolutely horrendous scene of events in the Turkish league, where I'm just going to refresh my memory on it. It was So this is according to Sky Sports, who reported this a day ago. Matches in all Turkish football leagues have been suspended indefinitely by its football association after a club president punched a referee at the end of a Super League match on Monday night. Faruk Koka, probably butchered that, who is president of, oh my good lord, Ankaragucu, ran onto the pitch and struck official Halil Umut Meler after their top-flight game against Rizespor. Koka's side had conceded a 97th minute equaliser, ensuring Rizespor would stay 4 points clear of their hosts after the 1-1 draw. And if you actually see the video of the incident, the guy literally runs onto the pitch alongside some of the players from his own team and literally cold cocks the ref with a shot from behind. The ref doesn't see it coming, and he doesn't go up to him like face to face and punch him. He does it like proper cowardly, and it gets him from like the back. It's a proper shithouse move on the part of the ref, not the ref, sorry, the club president. And yeah, just a bit crazy. Obviously, kind of close to home in the fact that obviously Mr. Woodmansey's team owned by a Turkish person.
Well, not just any Turkish person either. Somebody who's very famous effectively is known as the Simon Cowell of Turkey. Owns a lot of media, does a lot of television and all the rest of it. So it's his sort of coming to England to buy a team because of his love of football stems from the fact that he first picked it up in his home country, and obviously the influx of players that we had at the very start of his tenure. Like obviously we've still got Tufan, and players that have played for Turkish clubs that he's then seen play there that have been recommended to come over on loan or what have you. So there's been a heavy influence, but if the league's suspended indefinitely, we might be almost as busy as Nottingham Forest in the January transfer window. But yeah, we'll see. As a football fan and as just a general human being, you absolutely don't want to see it, as Paul said, blindsiding anybody. But in a sporting environment, at the end of the day, it is a game. Yes, emotions run high and all the rest of it. As a parent, my God, is this a good teaching tool about sportsmanship and what you should and shouldn't do? Because it's always that thing of like, if something happens, if you do that again, this is going to happen. Well, this time, if you do that again, we're going to shut the league down. Well, now look what we've had to do. So it's been a good teaching tool, but Jesus Christ, like, imagine being the guy who got your entire country's football shut down that season. Because, like, what are they going to do?
Crazy, isn't it? It's just baffling. Like, obviously, like you said, people need to understand at the end of the day, it is a game. Fair enough. Yeah, you might be pissed off that your team's just lost or whatever, or drawn. I was going to say they hadn't even lost that. It was a draw.
Yeah, it was a draw. It was because they hadn't. But they then couldn't make ground, could they, on the team that they were playing?
It's just, I mean, like I say, it's bad enough to go up to the guy and like, look at him face to face and punch him straight in the face. But to do it when he can't even see the punch coming, it's even more disgraceful. Right, and it's just like the guy shouldn't be allowed to own a club anymore. He should be banned from all football for the rest of his life.
I think that the only way that they'll restart the league is if he resigns from his position. I think that's what they're waiting for. But it's how stubborn is he with regards to it's not just when you're the president. It's maybe not quite as simple as just up in sticks. It depends how much ownership he's got of it as well. If he is just president by position or he's got shares in the club or whatever.
That was the only thing I had to bring to the table. Lads, have either of you got anything you'd like to discuss?
I mean, I enjoyed watching Leeds lose last night, but other than that,
yeah. But for me, it was one of those ones where fair enough, Leeds lost, but then it was like, oh Christ, that means that Sunderland got a win. So
I do quite enjoy the fact that at Sunderland, though, that obviously because they've got Joe Bellingham who scored the winning goal, clearly doesn't want to be known for being Jude Bellingham's brother, so he's just announced to the stadium as Joe. That's it. He
even plays with that just on his back. He just plays with Jobe, Jobe on his back. So
yeah, do quite enjoy that, but it's a funny one that because Sunderland are then one of them sides that, again, like Birmingham were in the earlier part of the season, have done pretty well, and then have binned off their manager.
Yeah, a very strange set of circumstances there. Obviously, one thing we should bring up is the fact that tonight was the last game of the group stage of the Champions League, and joining Manchester United in failing to not only just qualify, not only not qualifying for the knockout round of the Champions League, Newcastle United followed suit in finishing bottom of their group and not even being dumped into the Europa League, ladies and gentlemen. So Newcastle, having had to wait all of 10 years or so when it was that they last played Champions League football or European football, it lasted all of 6 games. Well done, lads. Cheers for coming. Get back in your little box.
At least their little European adventure hasn't left them with a squad ravaged by injury, and they're looking in a strong position for the next. Haven't they got Man City coming up and a few others?
More than likely. They've obviously got their League Cup quarter-final against Chelsea midweek next week, so that'll be interesting. We'll see if they can cobble a team together to play that.
You watch. You know full well what's going to happen. Their team will just come right again, just at the week commencing the 3rd round of the FA Cup.
More than likely. But yes, such a shame that such a giant of world football is no longer in the Champions League. But never mind, Never mind. There you have it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to these two fine gentlemen for joining me once again to go through their teams and my team. Maybe next week we'll just not bother with the Borough games. We'll just go through your boys. It's fine. But yes, join us again next week. We'll break down this week's games. We'll discuss next week's games as well. But until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in about a week's time. Tassie, bye.
So there you go. What do you think to that? Matt, you were missed, but we did our best to cover for your absence. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. If I can ask you to do a couple of jobs, not jobs really, just a couple of little things before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.